Okay then, welcome to a new module for you. I'm going to be your module leader, and throughout the weeks we're going to sort of delve into the wide spectrum then, that is sports science, particularly in terms of football coaching. What are the aims of the module then? Well, quite simply, we're looking to gain basic knowledge and understanding about sports science. We'll identify how its application may aid the coach in developing athletes in order to achieve improved sporting performance. Also, we look at making sure that coaches of children fully understand the different scientific needs of this specific population. What will we look at then? Well, as you can see from the images there, we're going to cover some sports psychology. We're also going to look at some sports physiology. We're going to touch on nutrition. We're certainly going to look at an element of biomechanics and also performance analysis. Also, we're going to look at the interdisciplinary approaches, okay, for a coach who needs to use a wide variety of these different methods. So quite a lot to look at and quite a lot to take in, as I'm sure you'll see as we work through the weeks. Okay, then we're going to get straight in with the task. It's the usual format. If you're working on your own, that's fine, of course. But if you're working in with the other members of your group at the club, please try and work in groups of no more than 3 or 4. And certainly discuss things with each other. What I'd like you to do is answer the following questions. Who has worked with you and influenced you in sport? Who would influence and work with an international player in your sport? In this case, football, of course. And in football, who would influence and work with children? So some ideas to discuss with each other, okay? Take a few minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes to do this. Particularly think about who's actually influenced you. Okay then, we're now back after our short task. So some ideas I've got in terms of who's worked with you and who's influenced you in sport. Well, I'm looking at myself here. Certainly teachers. I was very, very lucky to have a very influential PE teacher in school who helped myself and other members of the my school year then very, very much in terms of football. Older players, of course. I found myself being influenced by people in a year above me and older players at the club I was involved with. Family members, these can be a huge influence, whether it's parental, whether it's your grandparents, brothers and sisters, cousins and so on, okay? A youth worker. This could be an example you may not have got, but you imagine going along to a youth centre, for example, just having the chance to play in an organised match. Thinking of myself, I know quite a few of my friends in the area where I was brought up, they really did sort of become involved in football through the local youth centre. Of course, the obvious one is your coach. I'm sure we've all got that one. A person who's going to influence players, that's their role, that's their actual definition of a coach in some cases, is to be there guiding and developing players as we go through. So I hope you got that one. In terms of international players, who would work with those guys then and who would influence those? Again, the coach, of course. It gets a little bit different now, because we're moving away, of course, from that developmental type of environment that we considered earlier. So maybe we'd look at a strength and conditioning coach, a sports psychologist, a biomechanics coach, maybe even a nutritionist, and some other very specific roles. In terms of influencing and working with children, well, of course, we have the teacher. At primary school, we've already identified this in another module, that the role that primary school teachers play in terms of getting our kids active is vital. Of course, the parents play a huge role. Any of you who are working in football at the moment, I'm sure you see the parents coming along, and they have a vital role to play for us in terms of supporting us in our coaching endeavours. Older kids, this goes back to who influenced us as children, doesn't it? Or when we were younger. So of course, we can have good role models from the other kids in the area, in the group perhaps. You may find, something I've done in the past, you could get some of the older, maybe teenagers who are 16 and 17, to actually coach with the younger age group, okay? Play leaders will also have an influence there. Kind of a junior version, you might say, of a youth leader or a youth worker. And of course, again, the coach. So the main strand I see going through this is coaches influence people right across the board there. You may have got some slightly different answers. Again, that's fine. This was just really something to get you thinking, get you back in and engage with this module. If you do have anything different, please make a note of that. So hopefully we can see some differences in the type of people that influence and have an impact on international competitors and just people like you and I, okay? Certainly a difference that we'll see if we consider children and their major influences. Of course, children are going to have incredibly different influences there in comparison to an international competitor. What we're going to do, we're going to concentrate on the role of sports science in terms of coaching. So let's take some time to consider what is sports science and also its background and its history. Some things here that you might not be aware of. So what is sports science then? See if you can come up with a definition for sports science. If you can't come up with a sentence, that's fine. At this point, bullet points will be okay. Again, take a few minutes to do this, chat to each other if you can, and just see what you come up with.